Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of SEDA College Online Live Advanced Class. My name is Teacher Lydia, and I'm so happy to be here with you. And I just want to remind you that if you're here with me studying, you want to make sure you have your notebook. And I always suggest when you turn to the new page for today's lesson, take a moment to write down the date. Today is the 7th of April, 2020, right? That's it. Have this fresh blank page so that you can go through your notebook and track your progress. See how much knowledge you're getting, how it increases over time. Okay? Because that's really motivating. And it's really important that we keep our motivation high when we're trying to learn. Because learning a new language especially can be demotivating at times. Sometimes you feel like, oh my God, I'm not learning anything. There's so much vocabulary I don't know, so much grammar I still don't understand. But guys, listen, you're advanced learners. You're already doing great. And if you're here and you're studying with us at SEDA College Online Live, or you're visiting this live video later, you are doing something great for your learning and you deserve a pat on the back. So take out your notebook and your pen and make sure you have a great attitude and you're ready to go. Like I said, I'm your teacher, Lydia. I've been a teacher here at SEDA College for over 5 years. I've been doing the online courses at SEDA College Online for about 3 years now, and I love being with SEDA College. I love being with my students. I'm also a life coach, so I'm here to cheer you on and coach you and support you in this learning process because I know you can do it. You have the intelligence, you have the heart, you just need the passion and the will to succeed. And if you have that and you're here with us, you're going to do great things. So let's get started. Yesterday we talked about some business English, and guess what? Business English Vocabulary Part 2. And we're using an article from the Harvard Business Review in order to learn this new business English vocabulary in the real context that it comes from, okay? And we're talking about the subject of intercultural or cross-cultural communication. This is an organizational culture subject. When you study organizational behavior and you study business and marketing, usually you need to study this subject as well. It really helps with management too. So I hope you've been enjoying the lesson so far. If this is your first time with us, no problem. We're going to do a little bit of a review. You can also Google the article, maybe pause the video, skim the article really quickly, read it just for general understanding, and try to pick out any vocabulary you don't know. So guys, let's get started. All right, cross-cultural communication, sometimes called intercultural communication. Let's review the definition that we had from yesterday. This term refers to communication between people who have differences in any one of the following areas: working styles, age, nationality, ethnicity, race, gender, sexual orientation, etc. And yesterday I gave the example of people who love the sport of football or soccer and people who don't, or people who love football and people who love baseball. They would have different cultures. People who love sport and people who hate sport. People who love dance and people who don't. Anything that you have specific to you is something about yourself. People who have disabilities and people who don't have disabilities. People who are dyslexic and people who are not dyslexic. There's people who are deaf and cannot hear. People who are blind and cannot see. There's cultural differences and all kinds of different characteristics that we have. Culture does not just come from the country you're from. It could also be the city you're from inside the country. I'm sure that people know that people from New York City are different than people in the rest of the United States. And there's a lot of differences in culture that we can find. And culture is rich and interesting and deep as a subject. Cultural differences should not be something that we shy away from. They should be something we learn about and learn to respect and help us navigate our interactions with other people. So that's the idea of cross-cultural communication, identifying when it happens and how to approach it, how to approach the situation and still communicate clearly what we want to communicate in the most respectful way possible. So this term, if we look here, this term can also refer to the attempts that are made to exchange, negotiate, mediate cultural differences by means of language, gestures, and body language, okay? So yesterday I gave the example of how if you're in the country of Bulgaria and you want to say yes to someone, you go. Most people would interpret that head gesture or body language as no, because it's side to side. But in Bulgaria, this is yes, and this is no. I have to think about it to even do it. Okay, so the main point of cross-cultural communication is that it's how people belonging to different cultures communicate with each other, either successfully or unsuccessfully. And studying it a little more deeply can really help us in our lives, and especially in business. All right, so did you do your homework? If you were with me yesterday, did you take the time to Google the title of this article for Harvard Business Review and read the article, skim it, and pick out the new vocabulary? Did you read the article? If you did, take a moment to tell me, one, what the article was about in a 2-sentence summary, please, and 2, the new vocabulary you learned. Now, if you did not, you have 3 minutes to Google the article right now and take a quick scan. That might be enough time to do what you need to do. It should be. Just give you a little context on the subject and what happened in the article that the author was describing. It's really good practice to get us to be able to read really quickly, skim, and get a general understanding, okay? So I'm going to give you 4 minutes for those of you that did homework to write these responses, and those of you that didn't do the homework to just catch up a little bit, okay? Because maybe you weren't here, so you didn't know about the homework. No problem. I'm going to give you 3 minutes and 30 seconds. You can start now. I'll put the timer on, and I'll give us some great music. Awesome. Okay. This time here is not just for you to study some English. I hope that you guys come here to my class and you feel happy, you feel positive, you feel safe, you feel calm and chilled out. I know I have a high energy and I'm really happy sometimes, but I want you to feel like this is a really chilled out and great place for you to come. Not only learn some English, but just get some time, some moments to yourself, some moments of calm. I choose the music that I choose to give us that great, calm, chill vibe because I've always believed, and I've seen it to be true with my students, if we set the right atmosphere in our classroom, and this is our virtual classroom, then people study and learn and grow and discover on their own because they feel comfortable, they feel secure, they feel empowered to do it in their own way, at their own pace. So I'm giving you a time, but you do what you do with that time. I'm not going to push you. I can't make you do the work, but I can make suggestions and say, please guys, let's do this. And if you follow my guidance, you'll see great results. And you can do it in a really relaxed and happy and positive way. Are we feeling relaxed and calm and chill? I hope we are. But that does not mean we are not being productive, okay? We're not sleeping, we're not lounging. We may be at home in our pajamas, some of us participating, but that doesn't mean we're not mentally here in this classroom space and taking part in something really positive and great for ourselves. So, guys, I hope that you are enjoying these courses here in SEDA College Online. I'm always available, here in class while you're watching the class. If you want to type something to me, I'm here. and I'm ready to receive your questions and comments. If there's a grammar point or vocabulary you're really confused about, anything that you really need, please let me know, because it's important to me that I make the lessons so that they address your needs, okay? And I'm here to support you through this process. So let's see what time we have. How much time do we have? Another 30 seconds. Chill. And then we can check out some answers. Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. Okay. So, I have a feeling that the new vocabulary you identified is something I'm going to highlight in the first 3 paragraphs of the article. I'm going to go through the first 3 paragraphs with you now, extract new vocabulary and meaning with you, and help you see how you can learn from reading, how you can acquire new vocabulary from reading, and how important it is to make sure that you're always exploring and learning and growing. And, YouTube videos are great, our videos are great, TED Talks are great, watch movies, all kinds of things to improve your English. But reading can be really, really helpful too, especially if you really want to get deep into a subject like business English and English for business, English for professional purposes. And we can help you with that here. All right. So whenever you read anything, even if you're rereading an email and checking your email to make sure that it's correct before you send it out, no matter the communication, if you're reading to receive information or you're writing to produce information, you're listening to receive information or speaking to produce and convey information, you want to make sure you're answering as many of the 6 universal questions as possible. Because if you don't tell who, what, where, when, why, and how, then people will probably ask you that because you didn't answer those questions and they weren't clearly communicated to. So whenever you're reading anything, ask yourself these questions to get the main ideas. Who, what, where, our friend says, and when, why, and how, our other friend says. Okay? So even when those 2 individuals will be talking amongst themselves, if she does not answer these questions for him, he's going to be confused. And if he doesn't answer these questions for her, she will be confused, and vice versa. When they're talking, they're going to be thinking these things subconsciously to try and understand the conversation. So it's really important, they'll be thinking all these 6 questions, that we answer all of these questions when we're reading, as we read, and when we're speaking as we speak, when we're listening as we listen, and when we are writing as we write. Okay, so new vocabulary. This is the first paragraph from the article that we are examining from the Harvard Business Review. Okay, what's the main idea of this paragraph? Well, we're not really looking at the main idea just yet. We're looking at the new vocabulary. So, I've identified some of the new vocabulary, all right, and synonyms for the new vocabulary, and we're going to put it together. But before we do that, I'm going to read the article for you, okay? If you read it for homework, great. You get to hear it now, what the words sound like when properly pronounced. If you didn't read it, great. We're going to read together, okay? What's the main idea of this paragraph? You want to think about that while we're looking at the new vocabulary. I can't stand it when someone writes obviously in the beginning of a sentence, any sentence. Nothing is obvious to everyone, especially when it comes to appreciating the impact a person's culture has on interpreting or preventing the acceptance of information. Okay, so that's the first paragraph. And what's the title of the article? Do you guys remember? Cross-cultural communication takes more than manners. And yesterday we said manners are the way that you interact with others, your behavior, your communication, etc. Manners can be different from one country to the other. Good manners means you make other people feel good and you follow the correct social norms. Bad manners would be being rude, okay? All right, so let's take a look. Number 1, can't stand. That's the first vocabulary phrase that I extracted for you. And this is a verb. I can't stand it when someone writes obviously in the beginning of a sentence. Any sentence. All right, can't stand is the same thing. These are the synonyms as abhor, detest, or despise. It means you really do not like it. It's really, really bad. It really makes you like frustrated and angry. Okay. 2, obviously. This is an adverb. A lot of people say that, especially in my country. A lot of people say it as well. Obviously, he didn't know I was coming because he wasn't home. You know, obviously is an adverb, and it means clearly, evidently, or plainly. Clearly, evidently, or plainly. So, in this case, you know, the author's talking about how nothing is obvious, the next word there, to everyone, especially when it comes to appreciating the impact. So, obvious, and that means clear, plain, or evident, okay, because it's an adjective. So, we have adjectives as synonyms. This is an adverb, so we have adverbs as synonyms. And then we have impact. The impact is a noun, and it's the effect or influence or results of something, okay? So let's look at this again. We've understood our new vocabulary, but now we need to understand the main idea of this paragraph. What's the main idea? I'm going to give you guys a moment to write down what you think the main idea of this paragraph is before I reveal my interpretation. All right? So you take 1 minute to think about the main idea. One minute. 1 minute and 30 seconds to reveal what you believe is the main idea of this paragraph. Oh, music. Knew something was missing. $20. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There it goes. Okay. So, I'm going to check what you guys have written, but just so you know, the main idea that the author is trying to get across to the reader in this introductory or first paragraph is that nothing is obvious to everyone because we all come from different cultures, and that affects how we interpret or understand ideas and situations. Okay? All right, so guys, you are doing amazing. I hope you find this interesting and different compared to our lessons before, and you're really getting something positive out of it. I know I do. Anytime I read an article from Harvard Business Review, I learn something new. All right. So, paragraph 2. This is paragraph 2, okay? And before we go ahead and go through the vocabulary, I'm going to give you 1 minute to write the words that are new for you, because I've highlighted the words that I think are probably new for you, but I could be wrong. You may know a lot of these, or you may have some other ones that are new that I didn't even identify. So again, we're going to take 30 seconds. You're going to scan it. Actually, you're going to skim it. You're going to scan for the words that I've already identified, and you're going to skim for words you don't know. So tell me the words that you don't know, that are new for you. I will read it, okay? A case in point. I facilitated an important global marketing meeting in Beijing not long ago with a US-based multinational food company, which had just purchased a specialty food product line from one of its rivals. The newly adopted subsidiary had recently become a market leader under its old ownership, based mostly on very good market research that was informed and driven by a deep cultural understanding of the habits and behavioral preferences of the average urban Chinese. Okay. I want to check out what you guys think in a second, but this is what I went through. Case in point, a case in point is an example in action. Facilitated means enabled, assisted, eased, made possible. Purchased, bought, acquired, obtained, picked up. Okay, those are all the synonyms. Rivals, competitors, and adversaries. Subsidiary, lesser, minor, subordinate, secondary. So it's a lesser, minor, subordinate, secondary part of a new company in this case. Market leader, top dog, smash hit, bestseller, blockbuster. The number one in the market. Ownership, the act of owning something, possession. Urban, relating to or characteristic of a town or city. So this article is really talking about how the author went to a global marketing meeting in Beijing and was important in setting up that meeting and making that meeting happen. The meeting was with a U.S. company, food company, and they just bought a specialty food product line from a rival company. So they acquired that now. It's a smaller part of their bigger company, so it's newly adopted. It's taken in new and adopted because it's not an original child of that company. It was birthed by another company and became part of this company. And it's a subsidiary because it's a lesser portion, okay? It became a market leader under its old ownership, so already had a lot of brand recognition. It was probably really popular. Very good market research was done in order to make that happen, for it to be so successful. And there was a deep cultural understanding of the habits and behavioral preferences of the average urban Chinese, the average person who lives in a city in China, okay? That's what this article was saying, if I can translate it. So, but what's the main idea? What's the purpose of this paragraph? The focus of this paragraph is to give us, the readers, background information to help us understand the specific real-life example the author will present next. Okay? So, next, guys, it's your turn, okay? The third paragraph is going to go into deeper detail about this cross-cultural communication that happened at this meeting. And actually, you can tell me if it was successful or unsuccessful, okay? So I'd like you to take a moment to read the article, look for new vocabulary, okay? And then in the next one, we're going to talk about the main ideas here. So you're going to read the article, skimming. You don't have to read in deep detail, but you want to read it and look for any new vocabulary, okay? Any new vocabulary. And you want to tell me, please, in a comment, all right? I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes for this. Three minutes. Okay. Great. I know you guys can do this. You just have to put the skills that I've been teaching you and you know yourself, you may have already learned, in action. I'll read it to you after. But I want you to try first on your own because I know you can do it. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. A little stretch. Oh. Oh. Good to do a stretch when you're sitting at your desk for a long time. Wait to see what you guys are writing. Super proud of you all for being here today. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, guys, hit me with the new vocabulary you have identified, and I will look it over for you, okay? Let's take a moment. I'm going to read the paragraph for you, okay? And while I'm reading, if you need to finish up writing your comments of the new vocabulary, you can do that. The new owners of the company's new owners, the U.S. company that bought the smaller Chinese company, the new owners sent their U.S. team to participate in a strategy session, a discussion of where this Chinese subsidiary believes its market is heading and how it must respond to new and mounting competitive threats. The US team set about asking questions as they would do in any meeting in the US. They tried to be sensitive to their hosts and believed they were treading lightly. To their surprise, the Chinese nationals reacted defensively to even the smallest and seemingly most innocent questions. Who were these outsiders telling us about our market? In essence, perhaps without recognizing it, the Americans slighted them without even knowing how or why. Okay, so maybe this is some of the vocabulary you guys picked up on. Number 1, we have strategy session. Okay, strategy session. A session is like a meeting or gathering. Strategy is deciding and making a plan, right? And how you're going to go about doing the plan, the steps you're going to take. 2, I have mounting. Mounting competitive threats means mounting, you want to think about mountain. It's getting bigger and taller and growing and turning into a mountain, increasing. All right. Threats are something that could be dangerous to you, right? Set about, the phrasal verb, to set about asking questions. They set about asking questions, Began. That's the same thing as begin or began. Treading lightly. That's like walking or proceeding, going forward, being very careful, cautious. And then number 6, we have sensitive. They tried to be sensitive to their hosts and believed they were treading lightly. So here, I wanted to make sure I talked about the difference between sensitive and sensible. And the reason I put that in yellow is to make that jump out at me so I remembered, and it set off the light bulb in my little teacher head. Sensitive and sensible. Sensitive is about feelings, okay? So they tried to be sensitive. They tried to think about the feelings of the Chinese people they were speaking with. However, they were only thinking about it in the context and the perspective of their own culture, not understanding the Chinese culture. Sensible. Sensible. Sensible is when you're logical and you're straightforward and you make sense. Okay, so think about make sense, sensible, logical. Sensitive. Think about your senses. Sensitive, you're thinking about feelings and emotions. Okay? Great. Hosts. They're hosts. The host is somebody who is inviting you to their place. So if you are in China and you're not Chinese, you're a guest. And the Chinese people would be hosts. Okay? Great. Nationals. People from that country. So Chinese nationals. People from China. Okay? Seemingly. The adverb, to seem like. Get the impression that. Essence. In essence. So, basically, to get down to it, the real heart of things is the essence. Slighted. If you slight someone, you offend them or you do something offensive. So they were slighted. The Chinese felt slighted by the Americans, and the Americans didn't even know why. Oh, sorry. So there we are. And it says Americans in this article, but really it should be U.S. citizens or U.S. Americans, because the United States is not the only country in America. And I know that, but it seems like a lot of people don't. So I'm sorry for those people, but I'm not one of them. All right. So paragraph 3, you tell me, what's the main idea? After we just extracted the vocabulary, I explained the vocabulary a little bit, I'd like you to tell me what you think the main idea is, and I'm going to give you 1 minute to write a sentence explaining that. In your own words, what's the main idea? 1 minute, 30 seconds. All right. You can do this, guys. Okay, guys. Stop the music. Alrighty. So, I'm going to check what you thought the main idea was, but the focus of this paragraph is I don't have any clear answer for you there because I would like you to extract it. For me, I feel like the whole point here is that the people from the US were just really in their own perspective, their own way of thinking, and they were not educated on the cultural differences of the people in China. So there might be a correct way to give constructive criticism or ask questions, but they were not doing it in the correct way of the people in the locality where they were. So for me, the rule is usually you need to adopt the norms or the manners of the location you are in. So if you're not in your own country, you're not going to be doing things the way you do them. You have to do them the way the local people do them. And in English, we have a phrase called do as the Romans do, meaning when you're in Rome, you do what people do there. When you're in New York, you do what people do there. You need to educate yourself and know so that when you have to communicate across cultures, and even just living every day, going around, and talking to people, that is communicating. Whether you realize or not, your body language, everything, you need to know the correct way to be in that place. It's very, very important. So guys, I can't wait to see what you wrote. But next what we're going to do is a little review of all the new vocabulary we just learned. I'm not going through the whole article with you because honestly, we don't have the time, my friends. But I hope I've given you the tools that you need to continue with the article and extract more great vocabulary for yourself that gives you an international business perspective. Okay, we talked about can't stand. The verb, obviously. Adverb, obvious. Adjective, impact. Noun. A case in point, an example in action. Facilitated, facilitated. To enable, enabled, assisted. I put all these in the past tense because facilitated was in the past tense. Purchased, again, bought, acquired, obtained, all in the past tense because purchased was in the past tense. This ed sounds like a T. This is like id. Facilitated. Purchased. Okay. Rivals. Competitors. Subsidiary. Subsidiary. A lesser, minor, subordinate, secondary. Market leader. Top dog. The number one in the market. Ownership. The act of owning something, possession. It's mine. Okay, so when you buy something, you own it. There's a relationship there. Urban, relating to or characteristic of a town or city. Okay, so you could say that's an urban looking house. Okay. Strategy session, a special meeting to talk about strategy. Mounting, growing larger or taller like a mountain. Threats, dangerous things for you or your business. Set about, begin. Treading lightly, going forward carefully. Sensitive, sensible, sensitive about feelings and emotions, sensible about being logical and reasonable. Hosts, the people that have you in their place. Nationals, people from a place. Seemingly, it seems, or it seems like, or you get the impression of. Essence, the real core, the heart, the inner being of something. Slighted, insulted, hurt, treated poorly. Guys, you did a great job. Look at all this new vocabulary, and we only looked at the first 3 paragraphs of the article. Cross-cultural communication takes more than manners, from Harvard Business Review. Go back, if you haven't already, and read the rest of the article. It's great for you to give yourself that homework. I'm not going to give it to you. You can do it yourself if you want to, and you will learn even more. Okay? Guys, you've done awesome. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Wow. You've done a great job today. Thank you so much for joining us here at SEDA College Online for this live class. I'm going to remind you again of all the great content we have at sedacollegeonline.com, the wonderful videos we have on YouTube, our amazing courses, our great podcast, SEDA Talk, on Spotify, and just all the services we have available to you. We have games on sedacollegeonline.com as well. It's so cool. We really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for your comments and feedback and interaction. I'm Teacher Lydia. Peace out.